So welcome to the Advanced Spinal Health Workshop. Obviously I'm a chiropractor, and so this is kind of my bag. We spend all day talking about spinal health, and not necessarily for the reason people might think. Often people think about spinal health and they just think about back pain, neck pain, headaches, shoulder pain, postural issues. However, we as chiropractors take a much broader view than that. We have a broader understanding of the impact of spinal health on your health and well-being, and that really comes from, at its core, our chiropractic philosophy. And central to that philosophy is the idea that your body is innately designed to be healthy. Much of our modern world has a very mechanistic view of health, which is that your body is like a machine and that it's going to break down and there's nothing you can do about it, and that over time it will slowly break down to the point where it starts to cause you problems and starts to cause you pain and starts to dysfunction. And whilst that makes sense from a physical point of view, from a physics point of view, when we're used to looking at machines and looking at cars and other things, it doesn't necessarily make sense when it comes to our body, because there's one fundamental difference about our body compared to a machine, and that's that it's self-healing and self-regulating. All right, so your car can't put in its own fuel and oil, right? Whereas your body can. And your car can't heal itself when something goes wrong, whereas your body can. And your car isn't constantly replacing and regenerating parts on a daily basis, whereas your body is. And so we know that if you cut yourself, then your body's going to heal. Your body has an innate regenerative, recuperative power. And so the question we should be asking is not necessarily, why is my body degrading? What went wrong, and what can I do to fix it, right? But the question we often should be asking is, why isn't it fixing itself? What's interfering with that process? How can we provide our body with the environment it needs in order to heal? And so that's what we're going to talk about. And so a big part of that is related to the stresses on our body. Our modern lives are just inherently stressful. I think life full stop is inherently stressful, right? So we've always got this balance between the natural stressful state of the world, whether that's physical, chemical, emotional stresses that are sort of dragging down on us. You can think of this a bit like erosion, dragging down on the land around us. The same thing's happening to our body. There's an inherent desire of the universe to kind of break us down, to regenerate us so that they can be built up again as something different, right? But the balance to that, once again, is that innate healing power within our bodies. And so if we can manage to decrease those stresses enough and mitigate those stresses and maximize the resistance of our body to the point where we start to tip that equation, then obviously that's going to mean that we're going to function better, we're going to heal better, we're going to perform better, and we're going to change the long-term prognosis for our bodies and for our health, and obviously in this case for our spines, for our back pain, neck pain, headaches, but also for the function of our nervous system and the health of our body. Okay. And so when your body can't adapt to these stresses, that can lead to subluxations in your body. Now, a subluxation is a misalignment in your spine that causes interference to your nervous system. And this is the major interference to your body's ability to heal. When your spine is out of alignment, your body can't communicate with itself properly, then it's incapable of healing. It's incapable of communicating properly between your brain and your body, so that your body doesn't perform the way that it's designed to, and it doesn't heal the way it's designed to. And this, especially from a chiropractor's perspective, this is the major interference that happens in your body and the major impediment to that natural healing mechanism within your body, because it is the nervous system is the major way that your body communicates with itself. And so it's the most significant interference we want to remove. Okay, and so those subluxations, when they do interfere with your nervous system, they don't just cause pain, because only 10% of your nervous system is pain. They also cause dysfunction, okay? And that can be to your muscles, that can be your joints, that can be to your ligaments, but it can also be to all of your cells, tissues, organs, and glands that are getting controlled and regulated by that nervous system. And so this is why we as chiropractors look at the spine. This is why we as chiropractors look at the nervous system. And so that's what we do as chiropractors, right? We adjust the spine to remove interference to the nervous system, to allow your body to heal and to allow your body to perform. And at the same time, we like to talk to you about what was creating those subluxations in the first place, how you can mitigate those stresses, decrease the impact of those on your body, provide your body with what it needs in order for it to thrive and be healthy. And so to a large degree, That's what I'm going to talk about with you guys tonight, okay? Now, obviously, once again, there's a limit to that. If you've got misalignments in your spine, if you've got interference to your nervous system, then, your body can be not adapting as well as it should, even to the perfect environment, right? You can be doing everything right in terms of physical, chemical, emotional, but if your body's not able to adapt and to utilize that properly because of interference to your nervous system caused by misalignments in your spine, then you're not going to get the best results. So just a caveat there, you might want to get your spine and nervous system checked by a chiropractor. All right. However, having said that, there's stuff you can do and there's stuff that you can do at home that's going to really help, okay? And so the first of these we're going to talk about physical, chemical, and emotional, as I mentioned before. And we're going to start by talking about physical. And really, the number one thing that your body needs physically is movement. We know that in our modern lifestyles, we lack movement. Right? This is one of the keys here. We talk about sitting as being the new smoking. The research suggests that sitting may in fact be worse for your body than smoking. And the average office worker sits for about 16 hours a day. That's massive, 16 hours a day. So they calculated that. They said the average office worker sits 16 hours a day at work, in the car, at home on the couch, in bed, whatever that may be. Right? They also figured out that there's about 6 hours and 43 minutes when they're sleeping. So they don't get enough sleep, which we'll talk about later, is an important part of looking after your spine and your nervous system. But also, if you calculate that, I think it was 6 hours 47, anyway, you calculate that there's only 73 minutes left when those people are actually moving. So think about that from an evolutionary perspective. If you were only moving 73 minutes a day, you're probably a pretty hungry hunter-gatherer, right? So I don't think that's what our bodies are designed to do. And certainly the evidence tends to support that, okay? So number one is just get moving, okay? And in terms of movement, one thing you want to consider is the balance between stability and mobility, okay? And so we need both in our body. We need mobility to be able to have the sort of flexibility to do our daily activities, right? To be able to move throughout our world without injuring ourselves and impacting upon ourselves and causing problems. But we also need the stability to be able to control that, to guard and protect ourselves so that we're not getting injured. And very often what we see in practice is people who have one or the other or neither, and that obviously leads to problems. That leaves you very susceptible to accidents, insults, and injuries, and it makes it very hard to heal, all right? Because once again, your body is very good at healing. Muscular injuries, your body should be able to heal those in about 4 to 12 weeks. Ligaments, joints, and nerves, they take longer. They might take 6 to 18 months to heal, but your body should be able to do that if there's nothing interfering with the process, okay? And so if you don't have the sort of stability that you can guard and protect yourself, if you don't have the sort of mobility that you can safely move around and navigate in your world, that might be why you keep re-injuring yourself and those injuries aren't healing, okay? So a lot of what I'm going to talk about in this workshop is mostly generic, right? It's not specific to you and to your situation. And there's really two reasons for that, okay? One is that, I can't tell you exactly, without examining you and seeing exactly what's going on, then it's going to be hard to give you specific advice about exactly what's going on in your body. But the second reason is that we're all humans, right? We all have the same genetic requirements for movement. We all sort of evolved in the same environment. And so actually, I think a lot of what we need to do in terms of movement is actually quite generic. We all require the same types of movement. Now, there's a time and a place for rehab. And so based on very specific injuries you may have, based on very specific stresses you may have at work or at home, there might be some specific stuff that you can do that's going to really help. And I'll talk about a few of those a little bit later. But for the most part, what you need is good quality movement. You need mobility and you need stability. And you need to do that in a really holistic way. Because what we're trying to do here is not fix any one particular insult or injury, but actually get your whole body healthy, right? Regardless of whether it's hurting you right now. Because that's what's going to get you the long-term results. Often when we just look at one isolated aspect of the body and we try and do what's right for that, we either A, don't get the results because it's being impacted by all the other parts of your body because they're all connected, just like the nursery rhyme says, or we fix one area and cause more stress in another area and have a totally different injury pop up and we actually haven't really moved ourselves forwards, okay? So a lot of what we're going to talk about is quite generic in terms of movement, in terms of foods, in terms of mindsets by necessity, because what your body actually requires is quite similar for all of you. If we're goaling towards good function and good health, not just treating a specific condition. And once again, with the understanding that if we can get you to the point of good function and good health, then you're going to be surprised at what your body can actually do and how well your body can actually heal. And so, as I said, a big part of this is about sedentary lifestyles, okay? And so for most of us, we do just sit far too much. And what that means is, we need to try and sit less, all right? And so looking at how often you do have to be sitting down, whether you can get up and move around on a regular basis, really ideally, you don't want to be sitting in one position for any longer than about 20 minutes. Because that's about the amount of time it takes for your ligaments to really start to deform, and your ligaments do deform over time. And what that means is the longer you sit in a bad posture for, or move or hold yourself in a bad way for, then the longer those ligaments are going to get stretched and the more they're actually going to deform. Okay, so you want to try and get up and move at least every 20 minutes. Even if all you do is a lap around your chair and sit back down again, it's going to help break that static load on your ligaments. And in between times, you want to look at your ergonomics, right? You want to look at how your desk is set up, right? So if I look at my desk here, my laptop is up here. It's actually sitting on a stand so that the middle of the screen sits level with my eye height, so that I have to sit up straight in order to look into the screen. It's not down here, so that I have to look down. And guess what? The more tired you get throughout the day, the more and more and more you come down towards your screen, and the worse that is for your posture, right? Because for every inch your head comes forward, you end up with 10 times the weight on the back of the muscles at the back of your neck and shoulders. So you want to keep that nice and upright. So get yourself a monitor. Get yourself a stand to put your monitor on. I then have a USB keyboard down here, which means that my mouse and my keyboard are at elbow level, right? So I can sit up nice and straight. My shoulders can be relaxed. They don't have to be hiked up to use it, or drop down. They're just relaxed at a nice even 90 degrees, and I can use that. My feet are flat on the floor, my chair's at the appropriate height, so that everything's at 90 degrees, right? 90 degrees at my ankles, 90 degrees at my knees, 90 degrees at my hips, and then everything above that, nice and upright, nice and straight. That's how you want to sit up your desk. Similarly, you want to do the same in your car, right? So get your seat up nice and upright in your car, sit up nice and straight in what you feel will be ideal posture, and then adjust all your mirrors. And what that's going to mean is that every time you want to look in the mirror, you're going to get a reminder that you actually have to sit up straight in order to look in the mirror and in order to be able to see what's going on around you. So adjust all your mirrors. That's a really good way to go. And obviously just get moving. And when we talk about movement, there's a lot of aspects we need to consider in movement. Obviously, we need cardiovascular health. And in many ways, this is the one we focus on in our modern society, and this is what you see in the media, and this is often the recommendations you get from the doctor, is that you need to do half hour of cardio a day, and I think that's good, right? You do need to do that. It's important for your heart, it's important for your lungs that you get moving, and you can do that in a million different ways, right? You can be walking, you can be jogging, you can be bike riding, you can be swimming, you can be rowing, skiing, whatever it is that works for you, so long as you're moving, okay? And I think the best way to do that is to try and make it as incidental as possible. Incorporate it into your day, incorporate it into your life, right? So park and walk to work, park further from the shops and walk to the shops, park further from the cafe and walk to the cafe. Try and incorporate that movement, go for a bushwalk with the family, have walking catch-ups instead of coffee catch-ups, right? Just get yourself moving. One of the good ways to do that is there's a Just Start Walking app that's been created by the Australian Chiropractors Association. You can look that one up, and you can get that app on. That's going to help get you moving. Obviously, a lot of people do this with a pedometer or nowadays a smartwatch or a phone that's going to track your steps and make sure you're getting those 10,000 steps a day in, and that's really important. However, it's only one small part of the movement that your body requires. Okay, whilst half an hour's walking a day might be the bare minimum amount of movement that you need to do in order to slightly decrease your risk of heart disease. It's not actually what your body needs in order to thrive and in order to be healthy. Because in order to do that, you need more than just cardio. Right? You need strength. And there's so much research out there talking about the importance of strength, right? Strength training is good for your bone density. In fact, strength training may be more important than your diet for your bone density, okay? Strength training is really important for making sure you've got some lean muscle mass, which is crucially important for the metabolic health of your body. Strength training is really important for maintenance of healthy blood sugar levels and prevention of things like diabetes. There's a huge amount of benefits of strength training. One of the great things about strength training is that if you have a lean muscle on your body, it's burning calories all day long, right? It's a great way to help keep the balance between your intake and your outtake in a healthier place. And we know for many people in our society, that's a really important thing. And it doesn't need to be massively healthy. It doesn't need to be massively heavy. It doesn't need to be healthy. It doesn't need to be massively heavy in order to do strength training. In fact, you may not have any weights at all. You can be doing resistance training, doing something like aqua aerobics, right? You can be doing just body weight exercises. You can even modify those body weight exercises so that they're very, very easy. So I often talk to people about this, and I say that, everyone should be able to do a push-up. And people look at me and they're like, well, I shouldn't say everybody. Almost everybody should be able to do a push-up. Obviously, if you are, wheelchair bound, then a push-up might be out of the realms of possibility. Or there may even still be a way that you can do it too. But most people should be able to do a push-up. And that doesn't mean that you're doing, full-blown push-ups. Some people can do a handstand push-up up against the wall. Other people can do push-ups with their legs raised a meter off the ground, right? Other people can do push-ups flat on the floor. Some people need to be on their knees to do a push-up. Some people need to be standing up against a wall with their feet only inches away from the wall and just leaning in and gently pushing out. Right? That's still a push-up. It's still the same movement. We're just scaling it, right? It's vastly different amounts of output that are required in order to do it. So I think for everybody, they should get to the stage where they're doing some push-ups. Obviously, if you need to be careful of this, if you've got an injury, I don't want you to be going over the top and flaring it up. Consult your healthcare practitioner with all of the advice that I'm giving you to make sure that it's safe. But, I think really for most of us, we should be able to do push-ups in some way, shape or form. And they're a fantastic exercise for building strength in your pecs, for building strength and stability in your shoulders, for building strength and stability in your arms, for learning how to engage your core at the same time as you're moving your arms. And as with all of these sort of body weight or strength movements, in fact, as with all of the movements I'm going to talk about, your posture is really important, right? So your posture when you're walking, running, swimming, super important. You should be nice and straight when you're walking and running between your ankles and your ears. So hips, knees, ankles, shoulders, ears should all be in a nice straight line. You shouldn't be bending forward at the waist when you're walking and you're running. You should be leaning forward from your ankles, staying nice and upright. And similarly, when you're doing your strength training, right, whether it's a push-up, whether it's a squat, whether it's a deadlift, whatever that may be, you want to be really mindful of your posture. And for all of those, you want to have a nice straight line between your hips and your shoulders and your ears. You don't want to be bending forward and rounding, because at the end of the day, if you're doing that, you're actually teaching your body bad posture. You're reinforcing your neurology, your muscles, your ligaments. You're teaching it to hold you in that bad posture every time you move. And so you're actually encouraging and ingraining and strengthening a bad posture. But if you can do those same movements with really good posture, and that may take time, you might need to work on that. You might need to work on your mobility first before you can do that. But that's actually what's going to help really improve the health of your spine, the health of your nervous system, and the health of your posture. Okay, so really be mindful of your technique when you're doing those. One of the apps that I often recommend to people in my practice is called You Are Your Own Gym. I don't get any kickback from this, but I recommend it all the time. It's quite cheap. It's only a few dollars. It's available in the Android store. It's also available in the Apple store, but I believe it's called Bodyweight in the Apple store. It's by a guy called Mark Loren, and it's just a super simple app to use. It's got pictures, it's got descriptions, it's got videos, and you can go in there, you can select a quick workout, you can let it know how long you've got to work out. You can let it know what level you are, beginner, easy, advanced, hard, whatever level you are, and it'll just come up with a workout, a Tabata style workout for you using body weight movements that's going to give you strength and cardio at the same time, which I love because that's really good. Kill two birds with one stone, and it's going to help you, as long as you do it with really good posture, build the strength and stability that you need. Okay, and so There's a reason I'm talking about whole body movements, not isolated body movements. And that's because I think ultimately they're the best for the health of your body, okay? Because what I want you to do is I want your body to learn how to stabilize itself in a really good posture. And I want your body to learn how to activate the right muscles in the right way at the right time in order to maintain that. So, if all you're doing is doing bicep curls on a machine, on a bench with your body locked in and your arms sitting on a pad, and you're just using your bicep, then you're not really learning how to fire and activate your core when you lift something up with your arm. Now, the risk of that is that when you go into the real world and you go to lift something up with this new massive strong arm you've developed, you're just as likely to injure your back because you haven't learned to stabilize it and to guard and protect it. So Bron's just asked what the app was called. I'm going to write it in here so you can see it, Bron, but it's called You Are Your Own Gym. God, I can't type here. Or Body Weight by Mark. All right, so that's in the notes there, but it is You Are Your Own Gym or Body Weight by Mark Loran, and it's awesome. It's really, really good. All right, so once again, I encourage you to look at those whole body movements because that's what's going to teach you to use your body in a really safe way to really learn how to fire those stabilizing muscles so that you can guard and protect, create a really resilient body, and you can help improve your mobility at the same time. If you're doing really good, what they call ass to the grass squats with your heels flat on the ground, then that's really great for your mobility. In fact, I've found that the best way for me to improve my hip mobility has been doing proper deep squats under load. That's actually, I've tried doing it body weight for years, but actually doing it really well under load is what's really enabled me to properly increase the mobility in my hips and my ankles, which has been great. So that's strength training, right? And then we can talk about mobility training, right? Because you want to make sure you've got the mobility there, to be able to do those strength activities with good form, but also to be able to do whatever you need to do on a day-to-day basis, right? Often it's our lacking mobility, which means that when we try to do different activities in our day, we get injured because we don't have the ability to move in the range of motion we need to do it safely, or B, stabilize ourselves in that range of motion to do it safely. So, you can be doing a whole bunch of different things for mobility. It might be yoga, Pilates. There's a whole bunch of mobility WODs and things like that you can find online nowadays. Obviously the Merrymaker Sisters Merry Body program I know is very popular for the ladies, and those girls are just awesome. I love them. They just do great work. One that I recommend a lot in practice is called Straighten Up Australia. And that's just a very simple 3-minute routine you can do each day. Once again, made by the Australian Chiropractic Association, designed to be like brushing your teeth, but for your spine. Just something simple you can do every day to make sure you're looking after the mobility of your spine. And then things like foam rolling. And so, there's all sorts of ways you can use foam rolling in order to improve mobility. You can use it to free up your rotator cuff. You can use it to free up your legs. I've done a whole video on this. And so if you are in my Healthy Lifestyle Choices Facebook group, if you're not, then you should be. Go join it, and I'll go request it and I'll let you in. And when you go into the Healthy Lifestyle Choices Facebook group, if you click on guides up the top, you'll see there's a section there called Spine and Nervous System Health, or Chiropractic Spine and Nervous System Health, I think it's called. You can go into that one, and under that you're going to find some videos. One of them is going to be a foam rolling video going through all of the different ways you can use your foam roller to look after your mobility and to look after your body and to help you recover after exercise as well. You're going to find one about the posture pole, right? And that's going to be a way of opening up your spine. So that's probably the only one that is, maybe the foam rolling as well, a little bit more specific in terms of, wanting to undo what is almost every single person in our modern society's issue, and that's that they round in the upper back and their head comes forward. Once again, largely because we just sit too much, we sit more than our bodies are designed to. So I'd encourage you to check out the foam rolling video in there. I'd encourage you to check out the postural pole video in there. And I'd also encourage you, there's another video in there which is exercises for better posture. And I think all three of those are ones that you should check out. It's going to reinforce what I've spoken about tonight in terms of what you can do for movement. Right? The other thing I want to talk about, whilst we're talking about some more specifics, is making sure that you're exercising your posterior chain. Right? I mean, the classic is the gym junkies who just work on their pecs and work on their biceps because that's what they want to show the girls in the nightclub, and don't work on their back or don't work on their legs, don't work on their glutes, right? And so they end up really out of balance. But it's not just gym junkies that do this, right? Once again, many of us, because we spend our whole time arched forward in our upper back, shoulders rolled in, then we end up tight and short at the front here. And because we're constantly moving in that way, then our body's getting very strong in that position, and we don't have the strength in our back and our shoulders to help bring that back and to open up our back and shoulders especially, but also to tuck our pelvis back under. Many of us end up with what's called an anterior pelvic tilt and what looks like an increased curve in the lower back because we don't have the ability to stabilize that lower back and those lower abdominals and those glutes to hold our back into a better position. Okay, so there are definitely some great exercises in there, but particularly focusing on the back, right? So things like pull-ups, things like rows. Once again, there's lots of ways you can modify these to mean that you can do them without lots of equipment, but also to mean that you can do them whatever your ability levels. And also, like I said, things like pelvic tucks, all right, and bridges. They're going to help to tuck that pelvis back under and develop that core stability that's going to hold your lower abdominals, your glutes, and help decrease that pelvic tilt that's going on. So once again, I think those sort of exercises are really good and really important, largely because of the prevalent postures we see in our world today. So once again, I encourage you to check out those videos, the foam rolling video, the posture pole video, and the exercises for better posture video. All right, I can just see someone's come through with a request. Mike Edgley to join Healthy Lifestyle Choices. G'day, Mike. How are you? I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome aboard. So that's mobility, right? And then I want to talk about balance and coordination. This is one that gets overlooked and very much to our detriment in our modern society, right? We know that if you're over the age of 60, then the leading cause of death is falls, okay? So regardless of what age you are, hopefully you're going to get to 60 at some stage, and you might already be there. And regardless of whether you're already there or not, then working on your balance and coordination is really important. Once again, a key part of this is making sure there's no interference to your spine and your nervous system. Making sure the messages from your body can get back to your brain and from your brain can get to your body is a super important part of this. This is why, chiropractically, this is why in my practice we measure it, right? Before you start getting adjusted, and we measure it on regular basis on a regular basis after you've been getting adjusted to make sure that it's changing and improving, and we expect it to change and improve as we get rid of that interference to your nervous system. But there's also stuff you can do at home. Once again, those Straighten Up Australia exercises can be a really nice, gentle way to start looking at improving your balance and coordination. They involve some sort of crossing the midline stuff, which is really important in terms of the integration of your brain between left brain and right brain. And they also involve, some lunges and things like that you do have to maintain your balance for. But you might want to go beyond that and start pushing your body further as well. Standing on one leg, perhaps standing on one leg with your eyes closed, perhaps standing on a cushion to add a little bit of instability. You might then progress to a wobble board to add even more instability. You might then do that throwing a ball against the wall while you're standing on a wobble board, right? There's different ways you can do this to keep challenging and trying to improve your balance and coordination. Obviously, make sure you're doing this safely, right? Progress slowly, do it under the guidance of your healthcare practitioner. If you're struggling to stand on one leg with your eyes open, then you don't want to be practicing doing it with your eyes shut. You want to get really good at doing it with your eyes open. And you might want to make sure there's grab handles and things close by and nothing around you that you can fall into. Make sure you're doing it safely. Be sensible about this, please. I don't want you falling over and breaking your hip and then saying, Brett told me to do it. So be mindful of your particular situation and speak to your healthcare provider about what you can do and how you can do it safely. but balance and coordination work is really important, okay? And then rest and recovery, once again, under-recognized, underutilized. We need to make sure that we're doing active and passive rest. So passive rest looks like what we think of rest, sleeping, probably the most important thing, getting a good night's sleep. I will do a video on sleep hygiene at some stage in the near future because I think that's really important, and I know a couple of people have asked me for that, so we'll do a video on sleep hygiene. But making sure you're getting a good night's sleep, making sure you're having rest days between your workouts, especially your really big workouts. You might be able to do active rest on those rest days. You might be doing Straighten Up Australia. You might be doing some walking, some yoga, those sort of things. But making sure you're not trying to do a 1 hour CrossFit workout 7 days a week, as I know some of those CrossFitters do, or even twice a day, as some of those CrossFitters do. That's a great way to get adrenal fatigue, and not necessarily a great way to look after your spine and your nervous system. You need to have a balance there, and you need to mix it up, right? So some days you can do the big workouts, some days you can do the little workouts, some days you can do more cardio stuff, some days you can do more strength stuff, some days you can do more mobility stuff, sometimes you can do more just activities of daily living, right? So mix it up and make sure you're getting rest and recovery incorporated into that as well. And as I said, make sure you're not overdoing it. The last thing you want, there's a real sweet spot in terms of the stress impact on your body of exercise. So if you don't do enough, then you're not able to de-stress your body. Your body needs movement in order to be able to send messages back to your brain to release dopamine and serotonin and to de-stress your body. You need movement to be able to do that. Incidentally, 80% of that feedback comes from your spine. So if your spine's not moving well, you're not going to de-stress your brain the way you should. So you need movement to be able to do that, but too much movement then can actually switch you back into that stress response, and then you get the adrenaline and cortisol coming back again because you're stressing your body out. There's a sweet spot in the middle there that you need to find, and it's going to be different for all of you, depending on your fitness, depending on your capabilities, depending on a whole, your lifestyle, a whole range of different factors. So you want to be mindful of that, but make sure you're not overdoing it. And as I've mentioned, make sure that you're getting segmental motion as well, all right? And so, yoga, Pilates, mobility WODs, all of those things can be great for general mobility, for global mobility. What they can't do is get individual segments moving again. If that individual segment is stuck and it's fixated and it's not functioning well and it's causing interference to your nervous system, it's very difficult to get that to move using generic movements. Sometimes you can, your body's constantly trying to do it, but often when that nervous system is interfered with, the muscles are locking up and guarding and protecting it, and the other joints around it start to become hypermobile because that one's fixated. Then generally, when you start doing that general movement, what's going to move is that one that's already moving too much, not the one that's really fixated, and it's very hard to get that one moving. You need to be very specific. Once again, this is as a chiropractor, I spent 6 years at university learning how to do this, to get very specifically onto the right joint at the right time, to get that dysfunctional joint moving and to get rid of the interference to your nervous system. So if you've got those segmental problems, whilst the global movement is great, you probably want to get the segmental problems dealt with first. I often talk about this like a car that's wheels are out of alignment, right? And so sometimes if your car's wheels are out of alignment, if you take it for a drive, it might do more harm than good, right? So even though it's doing all the right stuff, it might be yoga, Pilates, mobility, whatever it is, you're doing the right stuff, but because your body's out of alignment, it's actually causing wear and tear and problems rather than benefiting you, right? But then once you get your wheels back into alignment, once you get your body back into alignment, you go for the same drive and all of a sudden it's good for the car or it's good for your body, right? Because everything's functioning well. You can use that and your body can adapt it and use it for good and use it to heal rather than to hinder. So that's really important in terms of that segmental control, because as I said, if the joint's not functioning well, it's going to interfere with the nervous system, which is going to interfere with the ability of those muscles around it to contract and relax appropriately and get you the result you're looking for. So that's the movement side. Geez, I'm over half an hour in already. And we just got through movement, but now we need to talk about chemical, and then we're going to talk about emotional, and then we'll wrap it all up, okay? So bear with me, keep going. Chemically, the biggest thing you need to be mindful of, well, there's a few of them, but I think probably the biggest one you need to be mindful of in terms of looking after your spine and your nervous system is inflammation, right? Inflammation is the biggest systemic problem I think we're seeing in health generally in our society. Right? There are so many diseases that are very closely linked to stress and very closely linked to inflammation. And so when it comes to the chemical side of things, obviously we need to be mindful of chemicals and toxins in the world around us, whether that be in our makeup, whether that be in our beauty products, whether that be in our cleaning products, wherever that may be, trying to minimize those toxins as much as possible. And obviously that includes our foods as well, right? So be mindful of things like refined sugars, be mindful of grains and pseudo grains, be mindful of dairy, be mindful of vegetable oils, preservatives, flavorings, colorings in our food. All of these things can be really inflammatory for your body, and that inflammation doesn't just happen in your gut, it affects your entire body. So you can get inflammation in your joints, right? You can get inflammation in your muscles, you can get inflammation in your ligaments, you can get inflammation in your discs, right? All throughout your body, that inflammation is systemically going to impact you if you're stressing your body out chemically. So be mindful of all of those things. And there are many other foods that can be causing inflammation in your body as well if your gut is not healthy, right? So there can be foods that would otherwise be great, healthy foods that I would recommend people to consume. But sometimes if your gut's not healthy and the lining in your gut isn't sealed and you end up with leaky gut, then even things like eggs and nightshades and oils and meats, healthy oils and meats, can actually start to cause inflammation in your body as well, because they're just getting to places that they're not supposed to get because your gut lining is not sealing the way it's supposed to seal. Okay, so be mindful of that. If you think that might be you might want to have a look at some of the autoimmune protocols that you can do, where you really have to cut right back to the start. One of the more extreme versions of that is the GAPS diet, but there are other versions out there where you cut right back to basics and allow your gut lining to heal and to restore, and you nourish it with things like bone broths and collagen and those sort of things. Allow it to heal, and then gradually reintroduce some of those healthy foods, hopefully not the unhealthy foods, but the healthy foods, and hopefully then you're better able to tolerate those as well. But just be mindful of that. If your gut lining isn't right, then lots of things might be causing you inflammation, and you might want to speak to a really good naturopath to help determine what those are. You also want to have lots of vegetables in your diet. Vegetables really are the key to decreasing inflammation in your body. They've got lots of great stuff in there that's really anti-inflammatory. And you want to be mindful of your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in your fatty foods. All right? And what that means is getting plenty of fish, getting plenty of grass-fed meats, because they have much higher omega-3 to omega-6 ratios, and those omega-3s are particularly anti-inflammatory, and the omega-6s tend to be inflammatory, especially in the ratios that we see them in our modern feedlot foods, okay? So, and also grains and oils and all that sort of stuff. So making sure we're getting healthy omega-3s, getting some good fish, getting some grass-fed meats, grass-fed eggs into our diet is really important for balancing those out. Obviously, hydration is really important, drinking lots of water, right? Think about the discs in your spine. They're essentially a fluid-filled sac. You want to make sure that they've got lots of fluid, because they're the shock absorbers for your entire spine, and they're going to provide the space for your nervous system to escape unimpeded. And so that's really important. And as well as drinking water, you want to be careful of the things that might dehydrate those discs. So in particular, smoking, coffee, and alcohol are three that can really dehydrate the discs in your spine. And so if you're having trouble with those, you might want to really monitor how much of each of those you're doing and try and mitigate that and reduce the risk there as well. And then we can start looking at foods for healthy bones. And so healthy bones, they're the best thing in terms of calcium is actually dark leafy greens and seafood, right? Particularly small fish that have bones in them. Excellent for your bones, okay? Even more so than milk, which is often talked about as being the ideal. In fact, there are some studies suggesting that consumption of milk may have a negative effect on bone density. Now, I don't think the science has settled on that. I don't think I'm even allowed to say that the science is settled on that. But I do think that there's massive benefit for your bones of having dark leafy greens and seafood. And that is where I'd be looking to start with to try and get really healthy, strong bones. I'd also be looking at organ meats and broths, which are great sources of both magnesium and collagen, which are both really important for your bone health as well. Often we just tend to focus on calcium, and miss out on the magnesium and the collagen and a whole host of other nutrients, which once again is a good example of why we like to take a more holistic view of the body rather than a reductionistic view on the body where we're just trying to fix one part of the body with one nutrient. We need to look at the whole picture of creating a healthy body, because so often we just don't know what we don't know. And the things that, that innately, historically, from an evolutionary perspective, we would have consumed that we don't anymore, help our bodies in ways that we don't yet realize, or that in this case the research is there but we just haven't disseminated as well as we should, right? So organ meats and broths are great for magnesium and collagen, and healthy fats and sunshine are really important for making sure your body's producing enough vitamin D. Remember, most of your vitamin D is produced by your body, not consumed by your body. So focus more on what you're doing to allow your body to produce vitamin D rather than consuming or supplementing with vitamin D. Make sure you're getting healthy fats into your diet, and make sure you're getting sunshine on your skin, because that's really important for your bone health as well. An underrated one for bone health, vitamin D. And similarly for your joints and ligaments and discs, as I mentioned before, you want to think about, once again, bone broth. Collagen is really the building block of all of those. So making sure you're getting bone broths, making sure you're keeping the gelatin. Don't throw it out. I don't see recipes where people throw out the gelatin. They throw out the real cartilaginous bit on the top, which is actually the most important bit and the healthiest bit. Shellfish is a great source of glucosamine, which is really good for your joints. Once again, often that's one that people will supplement with, you can do that, but you may find that consuming it via shellfish, if you don't have an allergy, is a great way to do that. And oysters and red meat are a great source of zinc, which is also really important for your joints as well. So you want to make sure you're getting those in sufficient quantity to nourish your joints. And your muscles, okay? And so, once again, underrated in terms of muscles, we always think of protein, and protein is important, particularly animal proteins, really important for building great muscles, and that just makes sense. Consuming muscles to build muscles makes sense. But you don't just want to consume just the muscle meats. You want to consume the organ meats and the gristle and all the other aspects of it, because they're great for your joints and for your muscles as well. But you also want to get healthy fats into your diet, right? Because fats are the building blocks of your hormones, in particular testosterone in this case, but many of your hormones in your body are fat-based, particularly the reproductive hormones in your body are fat-based. And so they're really important for your health of your body in numerous ways. But in this case, particularly in terms of producing testosterone, which is really important for the health of your muscles, whether you're male or female. Right? So things like avocado, coconut oil, eggs, fish, nuts and seeds, healthy sources of fats are really important in terms of producing testosterone and producing muscle. And then for your nervous system, once again, we really want to focus on the impact of your nervous system. Because we know that your nervous system controls and regulates every cell, tissue, and organ in your body. It's really important for the control of your muscles, your ligaments, your joints. And so if you want to be able to protect your muscles, your ligaments, and your joints, you want to make sure your nervous system is functioning at its best. Right? Free from nerve interference, free from subluxation. So make sure if you've got them that you're getting checked to see if you have subluxations, because once again, only 10% of your nervous system is pain. So you can have a subluxation without feeling it. But also make sure that you're nourishing your nervous system. All right? That's going to give you the best chance of preventing injury, maintaining healthy control of your muscles, balance and coordination, injury prevention, firing your stabilizing muscles, all of those sort of things. So for your nervous system, once again, anti-inflammatory foods is really important. Being mindful of your blood sugar. When we talk about the brain, we now talk about, often they talk about degenerative brain diseases as being type 3 diabetes, right? Because they understand the impact sugar has on the brain and the nervous system. And so consuming too much sugar can be really detrimental for your nervous system. So be mindful of that. Obviously making sure you're getting pre and probiotics into your diet. We know now so much data out there about the link between gut health and brain health and nervous system health. So you want to make sure you've got your gut health dialed in by making sure you're getting enough pre and probiotics, but also being mindful of the things that might be killing off your gut microbiome. So make sure you're not having any unnecessary medications. Make sure you're not having too much alcohol, caffeine, foods that are going to disturb, sugar that's going to disturb your gut microbiome. Just being really mindful of the chemicals in your environment that might be detrimental to your gut microbiome as well. Um, and then for your nervous system, once again, the healthy fats are really important. Your brain is 60 to 80% fat. So you want to make sure you're getting lots of really healthy fats into your diet, especially omega-3 fats. EPA, DHA are super important for your brain health. So you want to make sure you're getting meats and fish and healthy eggs to get those into your diet. And similarly, B vitamins are really important for your health. There's some amazing imagery around this. If you look up pictures of vitamin B deficient people, you can actually see a decrease in the size, like up to a 20% decrease in the size of their brain matter. Their brain actually literally shrinks away if they're not getting enough vitamin B. So obviously particularly important if you're vegan or vegetarian, you've got to get that vitamin B in to nourish your brain. And I think the best way to do that is meats and organ meats. But if you're not willing to do that, then you need to make sure you're supplementing to look after your brain and your nervous system. Iron, once again, red meat is a great source of iron, which is really important for your nervous system. Magnesium is really important for de-stressing your nervous system. So, dark leafy greens, nuts, avocados are great ways to get magnesium into your diet. It's anti-inflammatory. It's de-stressing for your nervous system. It's relaxing for your muscles. It's great for your spine in many different ways. So dark leafy green vegetables are really a bit of a secret weapon here. And selenium, making sure you're getting enough selenium in your diet to reduce oxidative stress. And you can get that from nuts, mushrooms, and seafood. Okay. Perfect. And so that's our food, right? I know I've covered a lot there and in a short space of time. But you guys can all come back and rewatch this. I'll make sure this goes onto my YouTube channel. I'll make sure I cut and edit this and it goes into my Healthy Lifestyle Choices Facebook group. And if you've got questions, if you've come back to this and you're rewatching this or you're watching the replay and you've got questions about any of this, then the best place to ask those questions is in my Healthy Lifestyle Choices Facebook group. And you can go in there and ask the questions. Probably under the post with this video is the best spot to go, and I drop in there on a regular basis and answer everyone's questions, so make sure you get in there and get onto that. All right, and then there's the emotional aspect. The emotional ones, I feel like I say this about so many different aspects here, but the emotional aspect is really underrated in terms of its impact on your spine and your nervous system, right? Just think about it. I mean, we all know when we're stressed, where do you feel it, right? Neck and shoulders. We tense up, we hunch forward. What does someone who's stressed and anxious look like? Are they walking around upright, looking strong and proud, or are they tending to be rounding right forward, right? Your emotional state impacts on the stress response in your body. It impacts on your posture. It impacts on your inflammatory state in your body, right? So emotional state is really important. So you want to be thinking about doing things like breathing exercises to help de-stress your body, right? Making sure that the individual segments of your spine are moving well so that you're getting the right stimulation back to your brain to release dopamine and serotonin. Doing things like mindfulness, right? And you can do mindfulness whatever you're doing, right? And so a great way to do it is to be doing some of the postural exercises or some of the foam rolling or the posture pole exercise I mentioned earlier, and practicing your mindfulness at the same time, focusing on what's happening in my body, what am I feeling, how am I breathing, really consciously leaning into that, being very, very, very present and mindful. You're killing two birds with one stone. You're getting the physical benefits and the mindfulness benefits at the same time. That's a really cool way to do it, okay? You can do things like meditation. You can do whatever is relaxing for you, so long as it's healthy, right? So when I say relaxing for you, if it's, and the reason I say so long as it's healthy is that, if you feel relaxed doing it, but it's actually, biologically switching on the stress response in your body because you're eating junk food or drinking alcohol or sitting in a bad posture or whatever that may be, you may be feeling more relaxed in the short term, but you may actually be stressing your body out in the long term because of the biological impacts of that activity. So be mindful of that. But within the scope of what's kind of biologically healthy for your body, try and figure out what you love doing, what makes you feel relaxed. If you feel relaxed going for a run, then go for a run. If you feel relaxed reading a book, then get in a good posture and position and read a book. If you feel relaxed doing yoga, then do yoga, right? You don't have to do what's stereotypical. You don't have to do what everyone else says are the best relaxing activities. You can figure out which ones are good for you. You know, for me, it might be fishing, or hopefully soon, if I finally finish my boat, it might be sailing, right? But you know, so mine might be really different to yours. You can use things like gratitude. It's a great way to just switch off that stress response and switch on the de-stress response in your body in a moment. Is just to spend a little bit of time thinking of 3 things you're grateful for. And even, you know, things like cognitive behavioral therapy, right? So you may enlist the help of an expert to help you de-stress and to help you unwind. I got a thanks from Heather Lee. Hello, Heather. How are you? Hopefully you're obviously enjoying this one tonight. So welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm not sure if that thanks was about anything in particular or just a general thanks for doing it, but you're welcome either way. All right. So really, that's everything I wanted to go through with you guys tonight. I wanted to talk to you about all the different ways that you can look after your health, physically, chemical, emotionally, right? But I guess the takeaway I want you guys to have from this is that your body is designed to be healthy. Right? This is the innate intelligence of your body, is designed to resist the stresses of our environment, even the stresses of our modern environment. Our body is designed to be healthy. The more we can build up that internal resistance by giving our body everything it needs and as little as possible of what it doesn't need, then the better chance we've got to resist the pressures of that external environment. They're going to try and break you down, they're going to try and injure you, and they're going to try and stop you from healing from those injuries. So be mindful of those stresses on your body, physically, chemically, and emotionally. Watch this video back a few times and pick up some more stuff, because there's going to be lots of great information in here, and each time you listen to it, you're going to pick up something different. And if you're worried about your spine and your nervous system, then get to see a good chiropractor. Get your spine and your nervous system checked to see whether you've got subluxations. If you've got them, then get them adjusted. Get rid of that interference to your nervous system so that your body can communicate better with your brain. Your spine can function better. You can heal better. But even more importantly, you can perform better. You can thrive in whatever that looks like for you in your life, whether it's work, whether it's gardening, whether it's sport, whether it's parenting, whether it's, whatever it is you want to be able to do in your life, you're going to do it better when your spine and your nervous system is functioning at its absolute best. All right? So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Bron says this is her first live chat. That's awesome. Bron, welcome. Great content. Really enjoyed it, and thanks. Well, you know what, Bron, if one person thinks that and got something out of it, then that makes me happy. I've got even my mum's here. Mum's here says good reminder and thanks. Thanks, Kay. She's the best. Once again, hopefully that made lots of sense to you guys. If you're watching it on the replay and you've got questions, make sure you jump into the Healthy Lifestyle Choices group. Just search it on Facebook. You'll find it really easy. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you've got there. If anyone's got any questions now that they want asked, by all means jump in before I head off. I'll give you a couple of minutes. What are we? 7:57 now Adelaide time. So I'll hang here till 8 o'clock. If you don't give me any questions between now and then, I'll end this and move on. If you've got questions, I'm happy to stay for absolutely as long as it takes to answer all of your questions, because that's my commitment to you guys. I want to help you guys. I want you guys to be as healthy as you possibly can. And, that's something I'm really passionate about, and that's why I'm here. So any questions, make sure you just jump in now. Don't be shy, because I guarantee you, if you've got a question, there's someone sitting there watching the recording later who wishes you asked that question because they want to know what the answer to it is. So by all means, jump in if you've got any questions. Just checking here. Alright, beautiful. Mike, you're in the Facebook group now. Welcome. Alright. Perfect. Bron says, how often do I recommend getting adjusted? Well, that's a great question. That's a bit of a how long is a piece of string question, but it really depends on what's going on with your body, to be honest. That's one that, only you and your chiropractor can really answer that question, right? Because it depends on what sort of stresses you've got going on in your life. It depends on what sort of damage has been done in your body. It depends on what your goals are, right? Whether you're aiming for pain relief, or whether you're aiming for maintenance, or whether you're aiming for wellness. I can tell you, most people in my practice who are really aiming for wellness, we check them once a fortnight to try and make sure that we keep them free from their interference in their spine and nervous system functioning really well. Some people we check once a week, some people we check once a month. Some people, they've just started coming to see us and they've got lots of problems. They might be 2 or 3 times a week. So it really depends, and it really varies depending on what's going on in your life, how many of those stresses you've got going on in your life, how much damage has been done previously, how much stability you've got, how much mobility you've got. All of those things we've spoken about tonight impact on the answer to that question. But hopefully that gives you a bit of a rough guide. But the answer, I guess, is it depends. That's probably the best answer I've got for you. But I think the most important thing is you're getting checked on a regular basis. Shannon says, do you take on new clients? Absolutely. Yeah, we're always happy to see new people. We keep times aside every week for new people to come in and see us our practice. We goal to help as many people as we can improve their spine and their nervous system. So we always want to help more people get access to chiropractic. Anyone who wants to come in, by all means, head to, I'll put the website here. healthychoiceschiropractic.com.au. You can actually click on that link. You can book online. So if it's your first consult with us, you can actually book it straight in online. And our initial consult's only $39 for exactly that reason. We want everyone to find out the truth about their spine and the nervous system. We want everyone to know what's going on so they can make a really informed choice about what they want to do about their spine and nervous system. So we just try and make it as easy as possible. So Bron says, thanks, I'll book to start. So yeah, absolutely, Bron, just click on that link, book yourself in, that'll be great. And Shannon, this follow-up question from Shannon was, can anything be done remotely? I'm in Vic. I'm truly struggling with pain. I can't find a practitioner who can help. Look, honestly, aside from the advice I've given you tonight, Shannon, there's not a lot I can do remotely. What I can do remotely is find you a great chiropractor near you. Right? So your best bet is to send me a Facebook message. Let me know where you are, and I will figure out who's really good close to you and give you a really good recommendation for a great chiropractor, right? So if you've got friends or family who need to hear this information, make sure you forward this video to them. And if you've got people who are in Adelaide, then certainly send the link to my practice to them and get them to book in and get a checkup. But if they're not in Adelaide, then anytime you send me an address. Right, wherever you or your friends or your family are in the world, anytime you send me an address, say, hey, Brett, I need a great chiropractor in this area. I've got lots of contacts. I've been in this game for a while now, right? I've been a chiropractor for almost 20 years now, which kind of scares me, but I have. And, and I've done it all. I've been president of the association. I'm teaching at the chiropractic college. So I've got lots of contacts all over, I've spoken internationally. I've got lots of contacts all over the world. And so if you give me an address wherever in the world it is, I will find that person a great chiropractor, because once again, I'm passionate about people getting their spine and their nervous system healthy so that they can discover just how healthy their body is designed to be and the benefits of a healthy spine and nervous system and the benefits of a healthy body ultimately. So anyone you've got, let me know. I'll find them someone great close to home. More than happily refer them to a great chiropractor, because it's not about me, it's about them getting adjusted and getting rid of that interference to their nervous system and rediscovering that innate healing ability of their bodies. All right, so just send me a message